Thank you. And now, sorry for now. So let us do a little bit with the prayer to start it. Before we start, let us pray a little bit, and I will share the screen with you. Yes, we already went through the theological reflection, Dominican spirituality this morning. So now we go to the community living. So let's start with a little song and the scriptures. Sister Anna.
Thank you. And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of the bread and the prayers. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all, as any had needed. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes. They received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved.
So this sermon Religious Life is also related to the community living. And this time we are going to share with you how faith born us and how we live in the community life under the light of the gospel. So to be a joyful life and also to bring this joy to the world outside. So let's go to, today this time we have two communities join with us. Sister June community, that's on the right side. You know, Sister Julia, Sister Hoa, Kathy today she's cannot join with us. Sister Anna and Sister June. And another community is Sister Bea community. Sister Bea, Sister Margie, Sister Robin, Sister Pat, I don't know if she's able to join or not. Is she here? No. And Sister Ellen and Trump. So just let you know a little bit about their community. So this one, let me see. They have a lot of fun and life together. So I just give you a little highlight. I don't know what they're doing. But
we're having fun in the kitchen. Yeah. Listen, everybody?
Yes, everybody. And this is Trump after finish the ceremony. And I don't know what are they doing here.
That's the Mardi Gras second line.
Yes.
That's a great picture.
Yeah. Oh, that looks like fun.
Yeah. And then this is the celebration for the new year. Oh.
Oops.
And this is the important part. I forgot. Let's see.
Yeah.
And that is can you tell us what it is?
So we were able to celebrate Sister Julie's 60th anniversary of religious life. And not only was she able to show us with class and style how 60 years in religious life looks like, but then she schooled everyone in cornhole. She has the most amazing arm and aim.
Yeah. And you might notice that Sister Julie is wearing a crown while she is playing cornhole. Take a look at the crown.
She's classy like that.
Yay! Yeah. They made me do it.
Oh, they made me do it.
With that, let us together with two communities. And now we have one more thing. For this time, we play the Jeopardy. I think, yeah, and then let me show you here is a Jeopardy. And the discerners take time, you know, like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 discerners today present now. So you take turn to point out whatever you want, and for example, point out number one, and the question will come, and one of the community will answer your question. So Sister Bea community will answer first, and then the next question will be Sister June community. So they will take turn to answer the question for you. And like each community answer one question, and they will take turn. And also in that category, you have the my questions. That means if you want to ask the question, you can click into that, and you can raise the questions for them to them. And then you also have the sister does and sister says. For example, like this one, I will have something for example, like this one, on the community here, whoever want to find out what it means, you can say it. For example, this one.
Faith sharing.
Yes, that's right.
Good, because I was
Like
thinking,
that, kind of little breakout in between the questions. So whatever you want to click, tell me, and I will click into that, and the community will share. For this part, sister does and sister says, everyone can participate. Doesn't matter who. Okay. So are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So now,
Ready.
so now I can call the name like so. Every like Amy, Anne, Paula, Terry, Shingai, in that order. Okay. So first of all, Amy. For the Sister Bear questions. Oops. Let me do one more thing first. Sorry, because I closed that.
Anybody in the community?
Are you ready?
Yes, are you ready?
Yes. Let's say community life number 4.
Before.
whoa, big money.
Okay, this is number 4. What factors help you to have harmony and supportive spirit in community when each of you came from different personality, backgrounds, ethnicity, and ministry? Sister Bear's community.
I'll answer. I think an openness is really important. It's an important factor for harmony and supportive. And having us remember that God created us all, and we do have different personalities, backgrounds, ethnicity, and ministry, and not only openness, but a listening ear in order to learn from the others, especially when differences arise. Just really listening to what those differences are.
And I think it's also an opportunity to learn more about different ministries that people have, a little bit more about different people's cultural ethnicities, and sort of like Trom is always, making different foods and different Vietnamese foods, and it's given us an opportunity to learn more about that and enjoy it as well.
I think the flexibility, the welcome, and the joyful spirit also help.
Do you need me to answer too?
Okay, any other suggest any other? So now I go back. Thank you for answering. And now, Anne.
Sister does and sister says number 4.
Oh.
Okay, that will be fun. Let's see. When prayer, sister like to. Anyone can guess.
Contemplate, communicate,
Chant.
oh yes.
Chant, we like to.
Nice.
And then next.
Body pray.
What do we do in body prayer?
Bow.
Bow.
Good, yes.
Yeah, okay, then bow.
Breathe.
Like to
Bless, yes.
singing. We like to
The Blessed Sacraments.
Blessed Sacrament's a good one.
Yes.
Like to
Be sisters.
be
So you want to see the answer?
No.
Be still.
Oh.
Man, that's a very simplistic one.
Yeah.
There's some clarification here.
Meditate.
Like, are we talking about
Meditate.
communal prayer or individual prayer?
Any, sister
Any
like
kind of
to.
Okay.
Okay.
Meditate.
What? Mission? This is like praying.
Well,
Sisters
I mean,
like
we
to
do
meditate.
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 I think you're right.
Mindful.
Meditate. Yes, that's good. Okay, go back. And now, Paula.
Oh.
Oh, well, Alex, I'll take challenges for 3.
This is what is the most challenging living in religious life? How do you overcome it in a joyful way? I think this is Sister Bear's community.
I guess, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so community living can be challenging, but on the other hand, that's the most joyful we have about community. So, or most joyful thing we have about living or religious life, that it's, you always have fun. You saw some of the fun pictures. It's easy to laugh together and also to be with one another. And the challenging is if someone loses someone in the family or in the house, it affects all of us. So it's joyful, but it's not the smiley face joyful. It's joyful in a life-giving way. So I don't know if it responds.
And sometimes there can be conflicts, but that's like in any family or any living situation, there are conflicts, but yet you talk to one another and you sort it out, and then usually end up smiling and laughing about whatever it was.
Any other sister want to add in? This is only another option for other sisters who want to participate and act in this time. Okay, if like this one, I go to another one now, Terry.
Relationship for 2.
Relationship for 2. Here it is. Sister June's community.
Your relationships with sisters and others help your ministry. Well, I mean, this is a perfect example of how relationships among those that you live with, to be able to say, hey, sisters, can you jump in with us for a little sharing on Saturday afternoon? And they're like, well, I guess so. So helps with our ministry. And Anna has I don't know, maybe you can answer.
From my perspective, I find it very helpful because the sisters I live with have many years in not only being sisters, but also in various ministry. Like, for instance, Julie was a high school principal. Mm-hmm. You were a teacher, a spiritual director. June, you've been pretty much a rock star everywhere you've been. And when I'm having a hard time, or let's say I have a colleague or a particular circumstance, I'm just like, oh Lord, I'm not moving forward with whatever the situation is. I can bring it up to this collective of wisdom and lived experience, and I obtain guidance and support. I also feel that I'm blessed that I live with women that I admire and are wonderful mentors. So to me, that helps me not only in my ministry, but as well as I continue growing as a Dominican sister and as a person.
Yeah. Would you have anything to add to that, Julie?
Let's say in community, what helps me is if I don't know how to cook something, I just go right to the source, which is June or Anna. So I like the diversity, and that has been very helpful to me. Many levels, not just cooking.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, now Shingai.
Faith and Joy's 5.
Okay, Faith and Joy 5. This is Sister Bear's community. How do you pray together? How do I lead the prayers if my voice is terrible?
Well, we pray together every morning and evening, and we take turns planning it. We usually use the Dominican praise, but we also, each one of us have a little bit more creative bents, and we sometimes we spend the whole morning or evening with meditation. We usually use music as part of our prayer, and as far as our voices, a lot of times my voice goes in and out, that kind of thing. So if I'm leading prayer and I have to, normally with a song, I have it on my phone, but for the different times that we sing, usually I ask a person that has a better voice to start the song. So we make do. And but we enjoy our prayer. We have a lot of faith sharing, so we do that as well during our prayer, and then we have intercessions, and they usually go on for quite a while because there's so many things today that we need to pray for.
You can share. She said it all. I don't have anything else to say.
Another thing, I usually just look at the person, and the person just jumps in singing the Dominican blessing. It helps.
Okay, thank you very much. And now go back to Amy. Is that Amy? Yeah.
Oh gosh. Let's do Sister Dozen says 5.
Okay, Sister Dozen 5. Okay, now this is more fun. The sister has the younger members say to the senior members. I think you will have the answer. Anyone can say it, not only one community, anyone.
Julie said it. May I help you?
That's called wonderful, yes.
And I was going to say, may you help me?
So, and how about this one?
It's blank for blank. Please pray for me.
Yeah.
Please pray for me.
Oh, that's not it. Please.
No. Please sing for me.
Okay, please sing for me. Please.
Almost.
Please pray for something. For me, for my mother, for my sister, for my kitty cat,
For my students.
Yeah.
Please cook for me.
Please cook for me.
Cook.
Please cook for me.
Please pray for us.
Okay.
Please pray for us.
Yes. Someone say yes. That's good. Yeah, I heard someone say that. Yes.
Great.
Thanks for your help.
Thanks for your help. thanks for your prayers.
Thanks for dancing with me.
Thanks for your food.
Thanks for the drive.
Thanks for your prayers.
Thanks, B.
Yeah.
Thanks
for your advice.
That's correct.
Hey!
Yeah, that's good. Oh, sorry. Okay, now I have to go back to here. And now, Anne.
Relationships 4.
This is Sister June's community. How the congregation support sisters in their self-growth.
That's for our community? Ooh.
In the general communities, your community and the larger community.
Well, I think of one way is that, and it's more spiritual, but also self-growth is that we are all encouraged to study, but also to take a retreat every year, to take a full weeks of retreat, and also to take vacation and to take care of ourselves. And also if somebody,
Special programs.
Yeah.
Even my training in spiritual direction.
Right, like they recommended that you do that, right?
I asked if I could do it, and they said yes.
That's awesome. I really think the 4 pillars are integral to how not only Dominicans, but the congregation empowers us for our self-growth. As Dominican Sisters of Peace, we are empowered to hold this balance between study, ministry, community, and prayer. So we, in an effort to live in the 4 pillars as Dominicans, as June mentioned, are granted the opportunity for spiritual retreat, spiritual direction. We need to study, and as a community, we study frequently. We also, as Julie indicated, if we feel the need to request additional formal study opportunities or informal, it's encouraged. So by living in the 4 pillars and striving to hold a balance between them, we continue growing in our personal growth, not only as sisters, but also individuals that want to make a powerful difference in our world.
Would anybody else like to answer that one?
I was thinking of the leadership team, how they support us through communication.
Oh gosh, yes.
Also, if sisters feel like they want to have some therapy or psychological help, they're allowed to do that. That's given acceptance usually, that they can take some sessions on that if they would like to have that.
That's very true.
And we also have mission group coordinators. One of them is sitting with us in the room. And so anytime we would try to make a major shift, whether if it's changing ministry or, we need a medical procedure or something, anyway, you can always go to them and they can advise us, help us process, seeing the pros and cons that we have talked about in the morning. So they also help us process. And anything else you want to share about?
Well, my job is not really my job. My ministry is there to support the sisters that are in my mission group. And I have the greatest honor of visiting the sisters, seeing their ministry, close and personal. I get to actually meet the people that they're working with. And if they have any ministry changes, I help them through that process. If they're going to be moving, I help them move things. So whatever they need, I'm there for them. If they get ill and have to have any kind of medical procedures, I'm there with them through that process. And I talk to them on a regular basis. If they need any kind of reimbursements, I help them through that. So I'm just there for them. I'm always, I have my phone on all the time and just waiting for someone to call me.
Thank you. Now go back to here. Paula.
Faith and joy, number 3.
This is Sister Bear. Am I allowed, Bear community, am I allowed to bring friends, co-worker to the house to eat and pray with the community?
Well, we did this quite frequently before COVID. It was like a revolving door for prayer and dinner. We had different people over, different sisters, different discerners, different neighbors, family. Yeah, if they're local, come to the house to eat and pray with us and talk with us. So we're looking forward to post-COVID and being able to do that again.
Okay, thank you. Any other want to share? I think that's enough. Huh? Thank you. And now, Terry.
Challenges for 4.
Challenges for 4. Okay. This is Sister June, community.
What challenges and life-giving do you have when living with multi-generations? I don't know. I don't know. You have any challenges?
The challenge is that I can't keep up with them.
Sometimes I feel the same way about you.
Yeah, like some days we'll come home and Julie has done this and this and this and this and this, and we're like, oh my gosh, But one of the things I've experienced ever since I came into the congregation, I have always lived with people of different ages and different ethnicities, and I really find it life-giving. I've learned so much from my senior sisters. I remember as a candidate one time just not knowing what to do about something and being the end of the rope. And I remember this one sister, Sister Jordan, said, come sit down next to me. And I sat down next to her and she held my hand and she said, tell me what's going on. And I told her, and she gave me some beautiful advice. And she was so wonderful. And the next day she said, how did it go? And so there's encouragement that they share their wisdom, and then we in turn have been able to share with those younger and older with us.
Mm-hmm. I also love the opportunity to talk to both Sister June and Sister Julie about their religious formation, because it's much different from my own experience. And I love listening to the stories. I love listening to the stories of the sisters that they lived with and their mentors, and how they play an important part in them, and they play an important part in me as well. So I would say there's more joys than challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
What I find very helpful is often I go to them and say, explain this to me, especially with the formation program. Like, I like to be part of it because a lot of the training that's going on, that's happening with the team, I've never had it. And so I feel like I'm catching up.
Yeah.
Any other sisters want to share?
Well, I know that I really have always enjoyed living with different generations. It's always given me a lot of life, a lot of wisdom, and different cultures as well. Whether it's the different customs they have or the different traditions that they have, or different celebrations. Like living with Robin and doing the Mardi Gras. Before the sisters from New Orleans, when they came on board with us, I don't think I'd ever really have heard of Mardi Gras celebrations and that kind of thing. And so that's been, you know, a real opportunity for us to enjoy that part of their culture. And now we have the Vietnamese culture and traditions to enjoy. So I've always found it to be a blessing.
Okay, thank you. Go back. And now, Shingai.
Sister does and sister says 3.
Okay. What does this is easy. Okay. What does sister do during pandemic?
We eat.
Yes. Pray and eat.
Play and eat.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, pray and eat, of course.
No, it's
Walk a lot. Walk in love. Work and laugh.
Work lots.
This is maybe more for the sister in the mother house, but think about that. The sister at the mother house. Mm-hmm.
Sisters in mother house.
Listen, walk no.
They cannot go out, but they can do something.
Listen. Wait and listen.
No.
Watch liturgy on TV.
Watch.
Okay, now let me reveal the word. Us. Yeah. And how about this one?
Walk more. Watch mass.
Wear mask.
Okay.
This one.
What's all the whole W words?
I know.
There's other things that we do to
work on masks. Work on masks. Wear masks.
Walk out more.
Wait.
Work on, wear orange masks. Work on mindfulness. I did that on work on mindfulness. I did that a lot during the pandemic.
So what are you doing?
Watch
you doing when the
online movies.
Oh yeah, watch online movies.
No.
We give up.
So okay, one hint. What happened if the church closed during the pandemic?
Watch online mass?
Yes, watch online mass. Yeah.
We said that earlier. We said that.
So anyway.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. I think we said literature.
Oh, we said
Liturgy. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't say
And
mass.
now,
Okay.
Amy.
Community life 1.
Community life 1. Okay. I don't know which community now. I lost the trust. So, okay, community, they should.
Well, it does have a structure. It's like, for example, the evening, we eat at 6 o'clock. That's kind of written in stone. It's so we eat together, but then it goes as long as we want. And from there, we do the dishes, and then we go up in the chapel, and then we pray. And then again, it can go as long as we want with the faith sharing. You know, there is no like, I have to get back or any of those. And then after prayer, we come and we watch the news together so that we keep up with the needs of the time. So that's kind of structure for the evenings. In the mornings, the structure is just to be in the chapel at 8 a.m., which can be challenging for some members. And I guess that's the only structure we have.
Structure. Everyone goes to work or couple of like what I do and what Bea does. Before, like I work at the mother house. In my office is at the mother house, but sometimes I do Meals on Wheels first, and then I go to the mother house and do call people and do what I need to do for work. And then I come home and just do different things. It's not a particular structure for me during the day.
Yeah, I would say between the structure of the morning prayer and the time for dinner, it's up to the individual sister to get done what they need to do with their ministry or with their leisure time or whatever. And actually, before COVID, we actually prayed 15 minutes earlier, but we pushed it back once everything was shut down a year ago. So we may have to go back to that in the fall. I don't know. Yeah.
There is another structure. It's which evening we have which medical shows on.
One of the things we do in the evening is we do a lot of study in the evening. That's one of the things, one of the blessings of Zoom is that we've been able to participate in a lot of online workshops and webinars and things. And one of our sisters in Ohio, Sister Teresa Toot, she works at a parish and they have something every single night from prayer and scripture to cooking to pausing for prayer to book studies. So in the evening, a lot of times, our schedule is similar to the House of Welcome in Columbus, but a lot of times we find, especially right now, we've been studying a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as a community, we take turns cooking, shopping, cleaning the house. Just, since we have 3 floors?
Yeah, a big house.
Big house.
Yeah. Thank you. How about the sister in other areas like mother house? Do you have anyone want to share? Because the mother house structure is a little different from the local communities.
Well, I know the Columbus Mother House, they, with COVID, everything is a little different, but normally, they have prayers and mass in the morning. Of course, all their meals are in the dining room on the first floor there. Now, again, with COVID, everything has been different, but in the normal schedule. And then in the afternoon, some of the sisters still do go out and work. Some do a lot of volunteer opportunities. A lot of the sisters go to Moen and visit the sisters. But then they have evening prayer and meals, of course. And then I think some of the individual communities at the Mother House, they play cards, they listen to the news. It's a variety of different things. And I think there was a group for a while that was doing their faith sharing special groups. And so.
I guess there is one more thing I would like to add. Some of you might wonder why we are living in separate houses, why is not everyone in the big mother house. It's because mother house communities have a different structure, like what time they are praying together. Like 11 o'clock, they pray together in the morning, and then at 4:45, they come together to pray and then have mass. But if you're out in the ministry, then we can't join them at that time. So for that very reason, sisters who are in outgoing ministries, meaning like they have to leave the house to go to a ministry. We live in a smaller house, like 6, 8 people, sometimes 3 people, sometimes 4 people. And so we can create our own prayer schedule. And that's really one of the main reasons why we are not living in the mother house. If you were wondering why we have so many communities.
Thank you. And
My question's 4.
Well, that means.
So what is your question is about?
Do sisters have bills? And if so, how do they handle the bills?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Do sisters have bills? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, sisters do have bills. And how we handle our bills, like for instance, some sisters subscribe to special readings or spiritual material. Some, like for instance, for my ministry, I am involved with different professional groups, and they invoice me for membership. And sometimes we have other bills that come our way. But the thing is, how we handle this is we work on our budget in a year in advance. So we project, give or take, what our expenses might be, from flying home to visit our family, to our annual retreat, professional membership, and other expenses that we might have. And understanding that we all depend on each other. We try to be mindful of our own expenses and not live a lavish life of luxuries and glamour. I mean, we could keep it classy, but I think I'm starting to ramble, so I'll just stop here.
And like if you had a medical bill, you know, thankfully we all have insurance, and so most of it's covered by that. But if there's a medical bill, then that would be paid for the person who is the house bursar, or the person who pays the bills. And here I do that. And I imagine in Columbus, there's somebody there who does that. So if there's a bill that comes in, like say for the dentist, and we need to pay it, then Anna would bring it to me and I would write the check and mail it out to them. And in the budget, we all have certainly some money each month to pay for our personal supplies and things that we might need to get. So that's kind of how
like sometimes there's repairs that need to take place, and that's all also part of the budget, a communal budget.
Yeah, and like we don't really, each of us does not individually own our car. The cars are owned by the congregation, and so the congregation helps to care for the cars. Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Now go to Paula.
Community life number 2.
Can you share with us some fun story from your communities? This is Sister Bea's community.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all have heard of Ellen DeGeneres' Heads Up, where you have an app on the phone and you go like this and you have to act it out and everybody has to guess. That's a lot of fun. And then Bea taught us the Fishbowl. That is a combination of charades.
Yeah, so in the first we come up with a theme like winter or spring or whatever. And then we each have to write 5 little paper slips, 5 different words. And then from that, we create the word bank and we put it in a bowl or hat or something. And then we pull out from it. And so the first round, we try to explain it with words. Some people tend to do a charades instead of words, but the first round is about words. The second round, we act it out. And Marty is really good at it. And then the third round is just a one-word association. So for example, if there would be like chicken tents, you would just say farm, okay? But we it seems like that's our most favorite game. We have been recently playing it twice in very recent weeks. And it's just so much fun.
We laugh a lot.
We did it.
Especially when you're trying to act it out.
We did have a lot of fun celebrating Tet on a Friday night with, oh my goodness. Trum had a fabulous fun game. We had to bet on it with our quarters. We had a blast. And then only 3 days after that was the Mardi Gras celebration. So we laughed and we had fun and we ate and it was loads of fun.
I kept betting with Margie's money. It was fun.
I'm the only one that had change.
Thank you. Now, Terry.
That was easier.
Relationship for 5.
This is for Sister June community yet. How do you know it's time for?
Well, I mean, we could just talk about the pandemic, right? You know, like to respond to the needs of our times. You know, there was, I know, like my Zoma and her family, they helped to make masks during the pandemic, and it is just being aware of what are the needs around us, you know, and I know some of the sisters in Columbus at Bea's community, they volunteer with Meals on Wheels. And some of us here have reached out and we've been helping at Amistad Catholic Worker House here. And not all of us, and how does the community help you with this discernment? One of the things with like Amistad House, it's working directly with the homeless. And so one of the things that's really helpful is that Sister Julie, she makes up forks and knives and rolls them up in the napkin and gets them all ready. And then those of us who actually can go there, we bring them. So it's kind of like a cooperative thing. And then sometimes there might be a need that comes up. I remember one time I was living in upstate New York, and one of our sisters in Florida died quite suddenly. And the community in Florida really needed somebody to come and help. And so the small community I lived in upstate New York, got together and said, which one of us can go to help those sisters for a while? And so we sent one of the sisters down to Miami for 2 months to help out at the ministry there. So there's needs that are outside of the congregation. Then there are needs within the congregation that we try to be very mindful of.
Yeah, I was also thinking of our composting.
Yes.
During the winter, we really don't compost because how we usually compost is we dig our compost in our garden,
Put it in
and then we love when things come up in the fall. So June found that there is an organization nearby that takes compost from the community and helps support local farmers. So she brought that up to the community and said, hey, can we contribute to this cause? And as a community, we thought it would be worthwhile, instead of not using the compost from our vegetables and our fruits, we're now contributing to compost that will benefit local farms and help soil. So I think that's another example.
Thank you. And now this is the last, because I'm concerned about the time. This is the last question from Shin Guide.
Challenges number 5.
Number 5. Thank you. This is for Sister Bear.
Community.
This is for you, Trump.
Perfect for your communities.
But I have to say we have a very multicultural community. Robin is from New Orleans, and that's a culture itself with the parties and the shrimpies. And From is from Vietnam, and she cooks very ethnic foods, and I'm learning a lot. And I learned to love
She loves seaweed soup. Oh my God.
And then my accent is from Hungary. I'm from Hungary. And then we have Pat upstairs, who is African American, and we have Margie and Ellen, who are very American. I don't know how to say.
Caucasian. They're just regular. They're just regular people.
Regular people.
No, but anyway, so it's always fun. And every single time someone moves in, it's always different. Like when Annie was here, I don't know if you can still see us. Oh, you can still see us. We just can't see you. When Annie moved in, we ate a lot of vegetables and those things. And when Trump moved in, we are eating a bunch of different vegetables. They're very green vegetables. With
Healthy vegetables that Bea doesn't like.
I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
We're almost off.
Well, what's really great is that we learn so much from each other. I think that's one of the things, it's such a blessing to learn about different cultures and to share with each other traditions and different cultural experiences.
And the meals are wonderful from different.
Yeah.
It's like going to a restaurant.
Yeah. And I think this past year or so, a couple of years really, where there's been a lot of challenges with racial discrimination and racial profiling. I mean, I think of the fact that today is the anniversary of Breonna Taylor's death, or murder, really. And we together as a multi-ethnic community have been able to look at it in different ways. And I really am grateful to my sisters who have been able to show to me a different perspective and to help me to open my eyes to see how many of the things that I just go along with are actually racist or against the equality of all people. And so it's an awakening, I think, and it's a humbling thing to be aware of and to actually be just be mindful, mindful to the whole thing.
Right.
So it's very helpful. Right on target, for sure. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Now we come back in here and then we have a little time. So I would like to invite if anyone have another something burning, want to share.
Like a burning question and not something burning on the stove.
Turn it off.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Living in community, do you have personal space?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Personal space. Yeah.
We do, especially.
Right. We're very fortunate to not only live in a spacious place, but we all have our own individual room. And while we spend a lot of time together, we are called to be contemplative. So I love just going out for a walk, me and God, or in the mornings, just having my coffee with God and being in quiet. Or sometimes I could just go to my room and read a book or be outside. So we respect that. We do a lot of things together and we enjoy each other.
But we have our own personal space. There's a lot of respect for that. I don't know if any of the sisters, the other sisters from different communities want to address any of those.
Yeah, actually, I could ditto what Anna said. We all have our own bedrooms, but we also live in a very spacious house so that you've got the chapel upstairs, you've got the basement downstairs, you've got a beautiful backyard and you can go walking. So we've got wonderful community space and wonderful private space. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
any other sisters want to share, just feel free to share. Okay.
I'll share something. So, I live in the middle of New York City, so we don't have a lot of space, but neither does anybody else who lives in Manhattan. But we do have a beautiful city to be in, and there's so many opportunities that are right around us, and that's kind of nice as well. But sometimes it's a trade-off depending on where you live but there's enough space, to have private space for oneself, but there are lots of other ways to feed my spirit besides, kind of being in my room. So I have to depend on being outside, in maybe if I go walking in the city, then I feel like I have all this space because the city is so big, and it's really kind of great I love just walking outside on a regular basis. So there's different options.
Plus you have the roof.
Yes, we do have the roof. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those New York roofs, so it's not. it's a nice roof where you can just hang out and chairs and those.
It's more like a patio on the roof. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
I know you cook out on the roof.
Yes, I do love to grill. So I do that pretty regularly. Yeah. Yeah. So.
At our house in Wichita, we have similar. We each have our own room. We have the chapel. We have the basement. It's another TV if you want to watch a program that's different from the others. We have a beautiful big patio. We have a nice neighborhood to walk in, although I had to be careful with dogs some time ago with dog bites, but we have a lot of space for ourselves. So we get together, for all of our other events.
Thank you. Yeah. Terry, I see that you have some question or something.
Yeah. You guys are talking about kind of like the schedule and how how a day normally runs. And I guess I was wondering, is it like everyone is home by 6 o'clock for dinner every night and that's the expectation? Or is it a little bit more fluid, like you have plans on Tuesday with a friend who's in town, et cetera? Like what's the level, I guess, of commitment to those routines? Yeah, that's it.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, as we live in community, Terry, we are accountable to each other. And for instance, if it's Tuesday night and I'm scheduled to cook, but then I have a work commitment and I can't, I have to find out, well, where is my compromise, right? So I would have to probably tell my work, I'm sorry, I'm committed. My community depends on me, just as I depend on them. However, there are occasions where we do have commitments outside of community that we are flexible to participate outside. Let's say my friend is in town and I only see this friend once a year, or I have a meeting or whatever, right? As long as I communicate with the community and I'm not leaving them hanging, right? Because we do depend on each other.
Yeah, and the relationships you have with people outside of the congregation are real and so important for your own health, your own balance. And so we're encouraged to continue our connections with our friends and our family. Now, if every single night we were out flitting from place to place, there might be a question about that. But there's a great flexibility. Yeah, great question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And usually if something comes up, one of the other sisters will do it if you call them. So.
Yeah, like cooking.
So if I really needed to go to my work commitment because I would be fired if I didn't show up, then I would be, Joy,
Please, you for me. I owe you my life. Something like that. And usually dramatic like that. Of course, always.
How could you turn it down then?
Anne has a question.
How do you handle transportation within your community? And for example, if somebody cannot afford transportation or the cost of transportation, how do you handle that situation as well?
Good question.
So tell me more about what you mean by transportation. Is it the commuting from your ministry to the house, or transportation to travel to see your family, or?
For example, holding a driver's license and then paying for the insurance. And then if one sister cannot drive for one reason or the other due to the cost of it or maintaining the car, how do you handle that? And then if you are limited to one vehicle, how do you go about scheduling transportation if, say, one sister needs to stay in town and the other sister needs to go out of town? Then is there a public transportation schedule set in place? Things along that nature to get from one location to the other, whether it be for community services or religious life, like spiritual events.
Good question, Ann. I mean, a lot of that is handled within community. Like I said, we don't own our own cars, but the congregation owns the cars. And I have lived in a situation where we had one car for 4 people. And I know at the novitiate, sometimes that has happened. And you have a car book and you schedule who has the book from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Right. You better have the car back so that the next sister can do whatever it is. So there's a collaborative thing. And the insurance on the car is paid by the congregation. That's something we put into our budget. So that's how that particular thing gets paid for.
And then I know that I am trying to be more mindful of my carbon footprint. So while I do have a vehicle available to me, it's not my vehicle, it's the community's vehicle. So if my sister needs it, it's not mine, right? It's our vehicles. But I am trying to walk more. I am trying to rely on public transit,
ride our bikes.
Yeah, a lot of places. So that the usage of the vehicle is not as much, so that I can reduce my carbon footprint and be more environmental conscious. Now, Pat Connick could probably tell us a little bit more about public transit, because you don't have a vehicle, right, Pat?
Well, no, I live in Manhattan, so it's kind of cumbersome to have a vehicle.
Yeah.
But what I do is I take public transportation, usually wherever I want to go. If we say need a car for something, there is another sister that lives here in Manhattan, and sometimes we ask to borrow her car to go to a place. So we can generally get where we want to go. And I'll just say this, I take the train up to Connecticut when I want to go see the folks up there, as you know. And but in the pandemic, I was not as comfortable being on the train, right? So I've had people offer me their car if, when they knew they weren't good, if they were going away, didn't need it. Barb Kane came down to Manhattan to visit one time and asked me to come back with her. And I said, well, how am I going to get home? And she said, well, I'll bring you back home. She loves to drive. So, and I know that's a little bit of driving, but it was very helpful for me. And because of that, I got to spend 2 weeks in Connecticut. And because of those 2 weeks, I was able to go to Kathy Buchanan's entrance and be with the community, because it was a quarantining thing. So it was really kind of interesting. But it all kind of works out in the long run. And basically, I've learned if I need something, I just need to ask. We all put in our salaries together in a big common pool. So it's a little different model of how to live. In our society, we're so used to having individual budgets or family budgets, but we have our congregational pot, and we throw everything in. And I know my students find this the most intriguing thing about religious life, that we all kind of send our checks to central location, but then we budget, and we budget on a personal level and on a house level so that we really have what we need to do our ministries, to be people who are not pampered, but but we take care of ourselves so that we can be at the service of those who are around us. So and I've done that in different ways. I'll just say one more thing. I spent a couple of summers helping out in our healthcare center in Columbus before the pandemic struck. And of course, I didn't have a car. I flew in, but I didn't have a car. So I was given permission to use one of the cars from the Mother House pool whenever I needed it, so that I could go see my family and other things. So, there are lots of ways of being creative. I think we're a very creative group to really address some of those needs, because we have each other's interests in mind, and none of us holds on tightly to the things that we have. We learn how to share our possessions gracefully. So.
Thank you very much for all of your sharing. We will continue to have more questions tonight for the sisters, with the sister in the formation, but I'm concerned about the time. Thank you very much for all of your sharing and questions, especially to communities who joined us today. And may the journey continue. Before you go, I just share with you the question is something that you need to, I encourage you to look at. Let me see. Sorry, we go to many questions now. Okay, so during the break time, you can take a walk, a draw, or journal the movement inside using Friday, and you can reflect the question on the Discernment exercise booklet, or you read or meditate the article provide you and see how it relates to your experience since yesterday. Also, this is for the reflection question that you have. If you want to take the snapshot, that will be this one. And feel free to reflect more, whatever you want.